New York City is one of the most popular tourist destinations in the world, attracting millions of visitors each year. With its iconic landmarks, world-class museums, and vibrant culture, it's no wonder that so many people want to visit the city. However, with so much to see and do, it's easy for tourists to make mistakes that can detract from their experience. In this video, we'll explore the top 5 mistakes that tourists make in New York City and offer tips on how to avoid them. Whether you're a first-time visitor or a seasoned traveler, these tips will help you get the most out of your trip to the Big Apple. Number 5. Falling for tourist traps. Falling for tourist traps is a common mistake that many tourists make when visiting New York City. Tourist traps are places that are designed to attract tourists and often offer overpriced or low-quality goods and services. Some examples of tourist traps in New York City include chain restaurants like Olive Garden and Applebee's, souvenir shops that sell generic items, and overpriced attractions like the Empire State Building. To avoid falling for tourist traps, it's important to do your research and seek out authentic New York experiences. One way to do this is to explore the city's many neighborhoods, each of which has its own unique character and attractions. For example, visitors can explore the trendy boutiques and cafes in Williamsburg, Brooklyn, or visit the historic landmarks and museums in Harlem. Another way to avoid tourist traps is to seek out local markets and food stands. New York City is known for its street food, and visitors can find everything from hot dogs and pretzels to falafel and tacos on the city's streets. By eating at local food stands and markets, visitors can get a taste of authentic New York cuisine and support local businesses. Finally, visitors can avoid tourist traps by attending neighborhood street fairs and festivals. These events are a great way to experience local culture and traditions, and often feature live music, food vendors, and other entertainment. Some popular street fairs in New York City include the San Gennaro Festival in Little Italy and the Atlantic Antic in Brooklyn. Number 4. Not tipping properly. Not tipping properly is a mistake that many tourists make when visiting New York City. Tipping is an important part of the service industry in the city, and it's important to be aware of the proper etiquette to avoid offending locals and service staff. In general, it's customary to tip 18 to 20% of the total bill in restaurants, 15 to 20% of the fare for taxi rides, and $1 to $2 per bag for bellhops, and $2 to $5 per night for housekeeping in hotels. One of the reasons tipping is so important in New York City is that many service industry workers rely on tips to make a living. For example, wait staff in restaurants and cafes often earn a minimum wage that is lower than the standard minimum wage, and tips can make up a significant portion of their income. By tipping properly, visitors can help support these workers and ensure that they are able to make ends meet. It's also important to note that tipping is not just reserved for restaurants and hotels. Visitors should also tip service staff in other settings, such as hair salons, spas, and nail salons. In these settings, it's customary to tip 15 to 20% of the total bill. When it comes to tipping in New York City, it's important to be aware of the local customs and etiquette. For example, it's generally not appropriate to tip in fast food restaurants or at self-service coffee shops. Additionally, tipping is not expected for government services. Number 3. Not carrying cash. Not carrying cash is a mistake that many tourists make when visiting New York City. While credit cards are widely accepted in the city, there are still many places that only accept cash. For example, some food trucks, small shops, and even some subway stations only take cash, so it's important to carry some with you when you're out and about. Another reason it's important to carry cash in New York City is that it can be useful for tipping. Tipping is an important part of the service industry in the city, and it's customary to tip in cash. By carrying some small bills with you, you can ensure that you're able to tip properly and show your appreciation for the service you receive. Carrying cash can also be useful for budgeting purposes. When you're using a credit card, it can be easy to lose track of how much you're spending. By carrying cash, you can set a budget for yourself and make sure that you're not overspending. One of the best ways to ensure that you have enough cash on hand is to visit an ATM. ATMs are widely available throughout the city, and most of them accept international debit and credit cards. However, it's important to be aware of the fees that your bank may charge for using an out-of-network ATM. Number 2. Taking taxis everywhere. Taking taxis everywhere is a mistake that many tourists make when visiting New York City. While hailing a yellow cab can be a fun and iconic experience, it's not always the best way to get around the city. Taxis can be expensive, especially during rush hour or in bad weather, and they often get stuck in traffic. This can result in longer travel times and higher fares. One alternative to taking taxis is to use the city's public transportation system. The New York City subway system is one of the most extensive and affordable in the world, with 24-hour service and easy-to-use ticket machines. The subway can take you to most of the major tourist attractions in the city, and it's often faster than taking a taxi. Another alternative to taking taxis is to walk or bike. New York City is a very walkable city, with many of the major tourist attractions located within walking distance of each other. Walking is a great way to see the city up close and get some exercise at the same time. Biking is also a popular option, with many bike rental shops located throughout the city. If you do need to take a taxi, it's important to be aware of the local customs and etiquette. For example, it's customary to tip 15 to 20% of the fare, and it's important to make sure that the meter is running and that the driver is taking the most direct route to your destination. Number 1. Sticking only to Manhattan. Sticking only to Manhattan is a mistake that many tourists make when visiting New York City. While Manhattan is certainly a must-see destination, there's so much more to see and do in the other boroughs. Each borough has its own unique character and attractions, and visitors who stick only to Manhattan may miss out on some of the best experiences that the city has to offer. For example, Brooklyn is home to some of the city's best restaurants, bars, and music venues. Williamsburg in particular is known for its trendy boutiques, cafes, and galleries. Visitors can also explore the beautiful parks and beaches in Brooklyn, such as Prospect Park and Coney Island. Queens is another borough that's worth exploring. It's home to some of the city's best museums, including the Museum of the Moving Image and the Queens Museum. Visitors can also enjoy the diverse food scene in Queens, which includes everything from Greek and Italian to Chinese and Indian. The Bronx is another borough that's often overlooked by tourists. It's home to the Bronx Zoo, one of the largest zoos in the world, as well as the New York Botanical Garden and Yankee Stadium. Visitors can also explore the vibrant street art scene in the South Bronx. Staten Island is the smallest borough, but it's still worth a visit. Visitors can take a free ride on the Staten Island Ferry, which offers stunning views of the Manhattan skyline and the Statue of Liberty. They can also explore the historic neighborhoods of St. George and Snug Harbor.